Hey, 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 what do you say, everyone? I hope this episode finds y'all doing well. It is now in almost pretty much the middle of November, and I did take a break. Basically, I did 8 episodes in season one, and because of the holidays coming up, and then, of course, we had Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month in September, then October came, and it was just basically not great timing to have people come on and be interviewed. However, I have reached out to a good few people, and they're wanting to come and do an episode this month, and if not this month, in definitely December, as we wind down and get close to the year 2025, which is just insane to me. I don't know about y'all, but it just feels like that saying used to be, time flies when you're having fun. Now it's just time flies. Period, or as the British love to say, I love that, by the way, they say full stop. Little fun thing about full stop. When I was teaching in Saudi Arabia, I ended up teaching with a lot of people from England. One of my friends from England, she used to say, blah, 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 full stop, blah, 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 full stop. And I just kept thinking, why does she keep saying full stop? Because I had no clue that that's what they said at the end of a sentence. So us Americans will like, I don't care what they say, I'm not going, period, right? We say period. That's just something that we do here in the States. And I am not going to ride in the car with him if he does not wear a seatbelt, period. Just for example. And of course, you should always wear a seatbelt. Just, public service announcement there. Always wear a seatbelt. Seatbelt save lives. Hashtag facts. But the example being that we say period at the end of a sentence if we're trying to make a point, speaking verbally, of course. But those outside, I don't know people from all over the world. I mean, I know a good amount of people from all around the world, but I can only go off of my British friends, and they will say full stop. So when my friend kept saying blah, 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 full stop, I was just like, what? What does that mean, full stop? And then, of course, once I learned that full stop is what they say for our period, I was just like, okay, well, now I'm gonna probably use both of them from time to time. So there you go. That's why I just made sure to use period and full stop. Time is flying. It's just flying, y'all, and I hope that it is treating you well. I have, let's see, I've been dealing with allergies. I've been dealing with some body aches, and I think I've been fighting a cold. I'm pretty sure it's not COVID. It's been pretty mild, while at the same time it hasn't been very fun either. But allergies, I think, hit me worse, and, I love my cat. She is the love of my life, y'all, but, and I hate to say but she does she's got a lot of hair, and she just had a major grooming, a much, much needed grooming, because her hair just gets so long, and she's a princess, a queen, really, and she doesn't know how to really groom herself. She doesn't take care of her hair, so it gets really matted. And so suffice it to say, she was in major need of a grooming. And now I've been trying to square away my apartment a little here, a little there, and it doesn't matter how much you try to clean. There's always going to be like little hair here and there. And I think what happened is I probably should have wore a mask and maybe some sunglasses on top of it, and as I cleaned, because I think it just got in my nose and my eyes, and it has not been a picnic, to say the least. So that's what's been going on in my life. And of course, well, there was a major election. I'm not too sure if you'll know that there was a major election for the next POTUS in this country. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. Moving on. Let's see. November is a special month for me, and it's because it's special in the sense that it's kind of emotional, and it will always be emotional, not just because it's Thanksgiving and I'm very grateful and very have so much to be thankful for, but it also the 29th makes the day that my mother passed away. Our mother passed away because, of course, I have siblings, so it's always kind of an emotional, I think, time for all of us. And I actually had a dream with my mom in it, and my stepdad who passed away in February of 2023, and, it was good to see them. Um, some people are kind of scared of dreams, like, well, if you see people who passed away, is that a sign that you're gonna pass away? I think, it's easy to think like that, but I also think dreams sometimes are just dreams, or they are of people that you miss a lot, and maybe, just maybe, there are also people that have passed away that are just kinda saying hello, and, that's how I like to think about it anyway. It's like, my mom and my stepdad saying hello and checking in on me, and that's what I'll continue to choose to believe. I know we all have to go one day, and we all will one day go, but I don't think or feel in my heart that my time is anytime soon. And yes, I know there are people out there who are like, "Well, you can't say that. Nobody knows what tomorrow is going to be." And yes, I agree with that. Nobody knows what tomorrow is going to bring and going to be about. I didn't know in 2011 that I would get cancer. I didn't know in 2019 that I would get cancer, and I definitely didn't think in 2020 that I would get cancer again. Um, and yet I'm still here, and that's kind of what the topic is kind of a little bit about, and, partly anyway, and that's, it's really two parts. It's one part survivor's guilt and one part, like, what chemo does to your body, you know? And of course, this isn't just about ovarian cancer. Survivor's guilt can be about anybody that's gone through anything traumatizing, anything, um, that they survived and others have not survived. Be it cancer, be it car wrecks, plane crashes, anything serious that other people have died from. So, yes, of course, it's not just ovarian cancer, but because this is Teal Time with Hope, and the subject is everything about ovarian cancer, we can't take away the fact that people do have survivor's guilt when you survive cancer, as well as what comes with chemotherapy, rather what comes because of it, like the after effects that happen because of chemotherapy. And I still deal with that. Y'all, I have had eye problems that I never even thought was a thing, until I started getting infections in my eyes. And a friend of mine, great friend of mine, she's an optometrist. I believe she's an optometrist. Let's just say she is one to know about everything about the eye because she's a doctor that deals with eyes. How about that? And she's the one that told me, pardon me, she's the one that told me that you can get infections due to chemotherapy. I didn't know that was a thing. I've even read that people can lose their hearing because of chemotherapy. I think the basic thing that people think about when they hear about cancer, you see it in the movies, you see it in TV shows, you read about it in stories, and that is hair loss. People just really think about hair loss and people throwing up, vomiting, and those things can happen. It's not always, and it depends on the severity of the chemotherapy. It depends on the chemotherapy. From what I understand, 2 out of the 3 times I lost my hair. The first time I lost my eyelashes, which I didn't know was a thing either, because you'll never see anybody in movies and TV shows because it's a little harder to to do as far as acting, is to lose your eyelashes. You can lose your eyebrows, you can lose your hair, but your eyelashes is a little harder, maybe with, um, CGI or something. But you never typically will see an actor who's going through cancer with no eyelashes. But that is a thing, y'all, that is a thing. You lose every hair on your body, every hair on your body, and with the exception, I think, of your nostril hair, which I don't know why that is a I don't know, that's some strong hair. Um, if you know why, you let me know, please. But I don't think I lost my nostril hair. Just, I hope nobody spit anything out of their mouth as I was saying that. So my bad if you did. But again, it just depends on the type of, I guess, severity of the cancer and severity of the type of the type of chemotherapy that you're gonna be receiving or that someone receives. Because the first time I did, the second time I did, the third time I didn't. Um, and so now there was such a short time between the second and the third, so I don't know what that was about as far as like why I didn't. Now they also have things for like they call them like a cap. You can put a cap on your head, and it supposedly stimulates the scalp to where you don't lose hair. I'm not too sure. I have not read up on it, whether or not it works 100% or just I don't know. I keep going back to the type of chemo that you get. Just some are just way more serious and affect the body way more than others. I also got mouth issues. I already have gone through mouth problems, mouth issues due to an autoimmune disorder that I got while being in the military by being, um, and I can talk about this. There's certain things I'm don't know if I'm allowed to talk about with being, service connected to the VA, but I was basically military police school was next to chemical school in Alabama, and unbeknownst to us, we were in a toxic exposure site because of the chemical school there, and we were exposed to metals and chemicals and toxins and things of that nature. And so I've had issues with my mouth for years. Skin and other parts of my body have been affected for years and years before cancer came. And then the mouth issues started to come a little bit later after the first cancer and before the second and third time. And so it just kind of like made it worse, if that makes sense, because your mouth can get mouth sores. And so I already had those issues and it just made it worse, basically. Something, again, I did not know that chemotherapy can do to your body. Neuropathy is nerve damage. So more on my hands than I have on my feet. It's predominantly like the top of the fingers and, well, my hands in general. That you can get that. Again, these are things that people were like, well, I didn't know chemotherapy can do all of that. And if this scares you, you know what? I'm okay with that. Because if it scares you enough to say, you know what, I never want to go through what Hope has gone through. So I want to take care of my body, be proactive, and listen to the signs and symptoms, and know my body, and go to the doctor sooner rather than later. Because if I can avoid any of that, all of that, then that's awesome. If you think like that, I'm happy about that because you really don't want to go through anything that I've went through, and anything that a lot of us who have gone through ovarian cancer and cancer in general have gone through. We don't want to scare people. We don't ever want to like put fear in you. While at the same time, if that's what it takes for you to really take things more seriously in life when it comes to taking care of your body and being proactive. Knowing your family history is also very important. Please know what's in your family history so you don't miss anything. It's just too important not to. And I know there are people out there going, well, I don't have medical insurance. And, if I don't have medical insurance, how I can get these checkups and stuff like that. And to that, I say, that's a good point. That's something that I hope we continue to do better in this country with getting people medical insurance availability. It is sad that people have jobs, but they're not able to get medical insurance because they don't either work enough or those jobs don't really provide a good medical insurance without having to pay, high deductibles. The Affordable Care Act, which by the way, people may not know this, but the Affordable Care Act is what it's actually called. Obamacare is just a nickname that I believe the Conservative Republican Party gave to it because it was created under Obama. And I'm not trying to go politics on this podcast, specifically on this podcast. I have another podcast for that. But I did want to put that out there because I think, are some people who really think Obamacare is a thing that is separate from Affordable Care Act, and they are not separate. It's just a name that people gave it, but it's called the Affordable Care Act. And it's just sad that there is a lot that, there's people can't afford it, but we still don't have any party that's come in that's ever made it any better. And so what we need to do, we be a bipartisan agreement to make to make insurance affordable here in this country. Period. Full stop, y'all. People shouldn't have to suffer because they can't pay to have insurance, medical insurance. We shouldn't have people either get in major debt or just not go at all and take chances with getting sicker and then one day dying because they couldn't take care of their health. And I'm very, very grateful that I have the VA, that I served my country in 3 different branches altogether, by the way, if you ever wondered, in the Navy, the Texas Army National Guard, and the Army, and that I am able to have things taken care of because of my time in service. And so if my nose is running, I'm going to go catch it. Excuse me. If I can take some time to really do some editing, I might edit it out. However, I don't know. I like to make people laugh, so I might keep it in. Allergies. So, yay for allergies. So, just getting back to that, just know your family history. If you can, really, really be proactive with your health, because I wouldn't want to wish anything that I've gone through on anyone. My worst enemies, and I don't have any enemies. I don't think I have any enemies, and if I do, I don't know they exist. So if you're out there, I don't know you exist, and I wouldn't wish this on you. I really wouldn't, because chemo sucks in itself. When you're going through chemo, just when you're going through, it's horrible what your body just feels, and how it just puts you in such a funk, and you don't even know some days how to get out of the bed, let alone if you want to get out of the bed. And for me, it came to the point back in 2012 when I was like, I would rather have quality of life than quantity of life. I made that decision back in 2012. I'd lost so much weight and I couldn't do anything. I didn't even have the strength to get up off the floor to because medicine went on the floor, and I went down on the floor to pick it up, and I couldn't even get up. And I may have said this before, but I remember kind of crying up to my mom and being like weeping. I didn't cry that I got cancer. I asked God to give me strength, and He gave me strength. So when I was told that I had it, that they thought I had it, and then when I was told that that's what it was, and then when I went into surgery, I never cried because I always wanted to stay strong because I knew I had to stay strong. I told people, don't feel sorry for me. I'm gonna fight this, and God willing, I'm gonna be okay. But I did cry because I couldn't get off the floor because it weakened me. That chemo just weakens the body, right? It's killing all the bad just as it is killing the good, trying to make sure that that cancer does not come back. And I remember crying and my mom telling me that it's going to be okay. This is just temporary. I'll be strong again. You don't know how it's going to hurt you and how it's going to affect you until you're in it. And I don't want that to be, I don't want anybody to have to go through that. So that's why I wanted to talk about like how chemo, and so that's while you're in it, by the way. That's while you're in it. But then when you get out of it, these things that happen that continue to linger, the neuropathy, the infection of the eye. I had to have cataract surgery on my left eye because it just was such a bad infection that it caused cataract, caused a cataract. And then my bones hurt. Sometimes my bones hurt. And I've asked about it. I don't know if they have said, yeah, that can happen, or no, that can happen. All I know, y'all, is that my bones hurt from time to time, and they did hurt. I had bone pain during the second cancer um, chapter, if you will, in the journey. And here we are. I am 3 years and 4 months, going into 3 years and 5 months, actually, in 4 days. And I have pain sporadically. I feel it in my bones. I know it's not muscle pain, it's bone pain. And it sucks. And I'm like, really? Holy cow. Okay. But then I have to tell myself, that's okay. I'm still alive and I'm keeping this fight going. And it's not fun. It's like, I think there's the other part of going through cancer is the after effects of what you go through because of what you needed to do to fight cancer, to get through cancer. And no, chemotherapy is not a cure. Like Kelly said, my first guest, Kelly Logan, chemo can be kind of curative to some cancers, but I think many of them aren't. For many cancers, especially when it's late stage, it's not curative, right? It's to keep you alive longer, but it's not a cure. It's like you have to go through this ugliness of chemotherapy in order to stay alive longer and maybe stay alive for the rest of your life. You never know. But it's getting through it. And then it's dealing with the aftermath of that pain of what it brought. And I wrote something in my book in Hope Through Cancer. I wrote this poem back in July of 2020. Life seemed to be going along just fine. No, it wasn't perfect, but I guess you'd say I had no real complaints. Then, practically out of the blue, everything changed at the drop of a dime. With the blink of an eye, my health now had restraints. I was still fairly young and in somewhat good shape. So how could this happen to me? My life was placed on pause and a part of me just wanted to escape. Was this real? Is this real? Please God help me. And as the test and surgery confirmed it all, inside I was scared, but I knew I had to be strong. For this disease, this ovarian cancer, would not be my fall. I still had purpose, and I believed God would carry me along. Oh, sure, there were days I wondered if I would make it. The chemo tried to deteriorate my body. I tell you no lie. But with my faith in Christ and the will to fight, I didn't give up one bit. I continued to live because it was not my time to die. I don't know what tomorrow will bring, so I'll live each new day the best that I can with a great big smile, being thankful for each new spring and being grateful to have made it through this life trial. And so that really kind of like gives y'all an idea of what I was going through and how I was in my feels, if you will. And I love looking back at that. To be honest, I love looking back at that because it just reminds me of how far I've come and really how far God has brought me. Because that was July of 2012, and here we are, November 2024. That was 12 years ago. That's mind blowing. Back to the beginning of this episode. Time flies. Time flies. And I've had some fun as it's been flying by, and I've had some not so fun while it's been flying by. But I'm grateful for it all because I'm still here. I'm still here to appreciate this life. Is everything great? No. Again, like I have bone pain, I have the neuropathy, I have my eyes. Sometimes I feel like they're not 100%. I get these allergies. My immune system is weaker, and I know there are things I can do to strengthen it. And I am doing things to try to strengthen it with vitamins and things of that nature. But at the same time, I don't know, because of my background of having cancer 3 times and having had 24 treatments of chemotherapy altogether and 2 major surgeries, how you can't compare me to the normal everyday person. I've never been normal, let's just be honest. The everyday person who has never had to go through cancer once, who's never had any kind of major illnesses that have compromised their immune system like this, they can strengthen their immune system a lot better than I can, or maybe I could ever strengthen it. Not that I'm not going to try. I'm definitely going to keep trying to do things that can help boost my immune system. But at the end of the day, I know I'm different in that sense. And some of you might be going in every sense of the meaning, hope. Let's be honest. Remember, you're not normal. And I have to joke, and I do joke, and I love that I am not normal. And I love that my friends who really know me are like, you've always been different. Because I'm okay with that. Hashtag dork for life. But seriously, I just feel like there's just so much, y'all, that goes into understanding what cancer is when you're in the moment, when you're going through cancer, and also what happens after cancer. I think I've read a couple of times, if memory serves me correct, how people say just because you've gotten through the cancer, you've gotten through the surgery, you've gotten through the chemotherapy, you've gone through it all, and it's like people think, well, you're good to go now, you know? But it doesn't just stop. It doesn't end there. Check in on your friends who have gone through treatment. Check in on them. Ask them how they're doing. It really makes a big difference when you check in on people that have gone through it, and don't just assume that just because it's over with the treatments that they are good to go, that they're 100% now. We may never be 100%. And that's not for you to feel sorry for me or anyone that's gone through cancer, but we may never be 100% physically and or mentally. I've talked about how I've had anxiety. I've talked about, there's mild depression. It can happen to people that go through it. It's PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder. Like, we have gone through something seriously traumatic. that has changed the course of our lives. People have lost their loved ones because their spouses didn't want to deal with them going through treatment. People have lost friends. There are people that had just begotten, just didn't want to talk to me because I was going through, I don't know, they didn't want to lose me, or they didn't have enough time for me, and they didn't want to deal with their life and me having to go through. Like, I'll never understand that, because if any one of my friends, if any one of my family members, God forbid any of them ever go through what I've went through, and I don't want any of them to ever go through what I went through, for sure. I don't want a stranger to go through it. I definitely don't want any friends or family to go through it. But if they did, I would do my best to try to be there for them, not abandon them, not say I don't have time for them. And yes, it's happened. There were family members who weren't always, there, that didn't check in on me. And there were friends who I didn't hear from anymore after I told them that I had cancer. So it sucks, right? While at the same time, I didn't let it keep me from moving forward and stuff, and fighting the good fight in faith. So, it's like, okay, you get diagnosed, then you got to go through possible surgery, if not chemo first, then surgery. And then you go through the horribleness of all of that. And then it's over? No, it's not over. It's not over. We still have to deal with all the things that come afterwards. And again, like I said, there's the mental aspect, not just the physical aspect of it. I have crappy knees because of being in the military and doing all of the running that I love doing, and then doing a little bit more of it when I got out, because, it's an addiction and I loved staying in shape. And now here I am, and my knees, are not great at all. But I wouldn't put it past that the fact that I had so much chemo has probably not helped the situation with my bones and joints. And so that's hard too, because, dealing with the pain. I have chronic pain. I mean, there's no way of getting away from just, I've got chronic pain. I've got arthritis in my shoulder from an injury when I was in the military. I've got the pain from the knees. I got the pain from the lower back. I've got the pain from the neck. You name it, I probably got something going on. And then I've got, again, some mild depression and anxiety, and the bone pain and the neuropathy and all of that. And please, 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 please do not think I'm saying any of this to make anyone out there think um, I'm looking for sympathy. I'm looking for pity, because I hope, do not look for pity and sympathy. If you want to keep me in your prayers, please keep me in your prayers. Send love and light and good vibes my way. Thank you in advance for that. But I do not share any of this, and sometimes I'm hesitant to share too much, because I don't want people to feel sorry for me or think I'm seeking pity, because that is so far why I share. I share to let you know that cancer treatment ends, but it's not the end of what people who have gone through cancer still deal with. And I hope, if you know and love somebody that's gone through cancer treatment, to please keep that in mind and check in on them. I'm very grateful. I have family and friends who check in on me. And I know no matter what, even if they don't, I have friends and family who pray for me. Even if I don't hear from them, I know that they keep me in their prayers. I'm very, very grateful. Don't y'all make me cry now. And I also have a beautiful cat who's the love of my life, my Spunky. And of course, all seriousness, I have a wonderful God who is always by my side, and who I'm just never going to be able to be thankful and grateful enough to, for having me here for whatever reason, his design and will for me to still be here for is. Um, I'm seeking that. I'm seeking to understand why I'm still here. And I think that's what goes into the part 2 about survivor's guilt, because there is always going to be survivor's guilt. I think whether you go through it once, twice, or like me 3 times, there's always going to be survivor's guilt, because we will always be learning of somebody who has passed away. One passenger told me her friend from school is only 26 years old, and she was diagnosed stage 4 ovarian cancer, and at this point, all they can do is just comfort her because there's nothing else that can be done because it was found in such a late stage. She's 26, y'all. And I think it was that same week that I was on Facebook and a ovarian cancer Teal sister had posted about somebody else, somebody passing away, and they were 26. I believe they were 26 or 27. And it's so young. I was diagnosed at 40, but to be barely 26, 27, and that's just, it's heart-wrenching and heartbreaking. Of course, it doesn't matter if they're 25 or 55 or 85. Dying from a horrible disease, insidious disease such as ovarian cancer, is horrible in itself. I just wanted to say that to be so young and to be caught so late that there's nothing that they can do is heartbreaking, because we know, being in this world of ovarian cancer awareness, that awareness saves lives, and early diagnosis saves lives. Well, at the same time, for me, there's that survivor's guilt because it was found late. It was so late. My stomach was so bloated, and I've said this before. My mom said I looked 9 months pregnant, and it was just horrible. But yet here I am, even though it was so horrible, even though it was late stage 3C, and even though it's come back twice now, I am still here. December 15th, 2011 was the day that they went in, confirmed it was ovarian cancer, confirmed it was, bad till it was stage 3C. I'm still here. 13 years. Next month makes 13 years since the diagnosis of them going in and performing surgery and taking it all out. 13 years. It's mind-boggling in the most amazing way. But how can I not live in this world and not have some survivor's guilt? And y'all might be out there going, well, you shouldn't do that, Hope. You should just be happy and praise God and live your life and be grateful. And you shouldn't be living with survivor's guilt. Well, first of all, if you haven't been in my shoes, please, please, with all sincerity, please, if you haven't lived it, I don't feel like it's very good and healthy to tell somebody not to feel those things. Number two, I do want you to know that I am grateful and thankful, and also do my best to take this survivor's guilt and do my best to not dwell in it, to not let it fester, and to not let it get me down so much to the point where, I'll be stuck in depression, and try my best to turn it into something strong, to turn it into something to be motivated by, encouraged by, inspired by, because in the sense that I am still here to be a voice for those who are no longer here and no longer have a voice. I wrote an article about how I survived survivor's guilt, but it was written in 2012, and I can't find a copy of it. I know I have it somewhere, but I don't have it with me right now. And the same thing then is true now. So please, fret not, for I am very grateful. And though I do not deny there is going to always be survivor's guilt to a degree in me, as I continue to live and I hear of these stories of women dying of this ovarian cancer disease, I will always to a degree have survivor's guilt. But I also think that it would be weird if I didn't. I know I have a lot of empathy and compassion, and I feel sometimes more than I necessarily want to. I don't necessarily know if I'm an empath per se, But I definitely know I have a lot of emotions, and I've always been an emotional soul. You can ask my siblings that. Since I was very young, I've, always been known to be very emotional. I never want to let go of that, y'all. I never hope that will ever go away. I'm not ashamed of that. I will never be ashamed of that emotional side of me. I will not see it as a weakness either, because I know that I never want to be void of it. I never want to be cold or callous or lack, to be full of apathy. Never. So I will use this survivor's guilt that I will always have. Again, to a degree, I will always have this as I continue to live, despite the diagnosis and despite having this 3 times. And despite having all of the post chemotherapy pain and problems, I will continue to use this survivor's guilt as I don't know, as a weapon of encouragement and inspiration and motivation to continue to be a voice, not just by this podcast, Teal Time with Hope, and not just by passing on symptom cards to people, but also just living a life doing good in it and trying to be good in this world and making a difference. And because I know those who have passed away, would be doing good in this world. And I may not have kids. I'm not married. I don't have that to leave a legacy with. But I feel like, and I wholeheartedly feel that a legacy doesn't have to be left in the people that you give birth to, right? As in children. But a legacy can be very much how you make a mark in this world. And so the survivor's guilt is kind of what pushes me to remember that I am still here for a reason, even though I don't understand it. I'll never understand why me, and not the grandmother, not the wife, not the mother. Um, why me? That's part of survivor's guilt, right? I'll never understand that, but that is probably not for me to understand. That's going to be a conversation I'll have with God one day. But at the same time, I want to use that. Okay, it is me. I am still alive, and though I do not know why, I'm going to do my best to live it well. I am no superwoman, no superhero, and I may not be the president of the United States or CEO, but we don't have to be that to make a good mark in this world, right? We can do it by making people smile, being kind, be generous, be full of empathy, being full of love, and just trying to be good, right? What is the Gandhi quote? Be the change you want to see in the world, and never just settling for being basic. And that's no disrespect for anybody out there who, is very happy and content with their life, with living a basic life, I guess. And again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, because my idea of, I don't want to live a basic life. I don't think there's anything about me that's ever been basic, in the sense that, me and a person who loves to travel, living abroad, being in the military, um, being a corrections officer, being a jailer, being a cop in the army, and a teacher in Saudi Arabia. Like, that's far from, I guess, basic as you can get. And so why would I start being kind of basic now? I want to continue to be a lifelong learner. I want to continue to do good in this world. And without dragging that on too long, I just want to share that with y'all. And it's weird in the grand scheme of it all. I think I would have continued to do good in this world if I would never have gone ovarian cancer. I was living abroad in Saudi Arabia, and maybe I would have went back to Saudi Arabia, because I had come back before I got diagnosed with cancer, and I'd already seen some really beautiful countries. But it's weird to say it. As weird as it is to say it, I wonder what would have, how my life would have been if I hadn't had ovarian cancer. And so I feel like there's this thing that I believe that we can't change the past. Once it's happened, it's happened. And because it's happened, it was kind of meant to happen. It was like, if that makes sense, and this is just my belief, this is my opinion, of course, but it's like, I can't go back and change it. I got ovarian cancer in 2011. I can't go back. It happened. And because it happened and we can't change it, therefore it was meant to happen. And I know that's hard to understand, or maybe some people might not agree with that, especially when it comes to horrible, horrible things that happen in this world. But that's what I believe, that it was meant to happen because it happened and we can't go back and change it. And so I feel because it happened, it changed the trajectory of my future. Just like going in the military changed the trajectory of my life, of my future. But it's also the choice that I'm like, okay, I got ovarian cancer. I'm going to write a book about it, and I'm going to go to Washington, D.C., and I'm going to be an advocate, and I am going to make this my life mission. So it's not just, it's two parts, right? It's the part that I got it, and then it's the second part of choosing to do something positive despite the horribleness of it in itself. So I have chosen to go forward as an advocate for ovarian cancer, to have a podcast, to write a book, to hopefully write a second book, to talk to people whenever I can, to bring in guests to talk about their stories about it, because I don't want people to keep dying. I don't want women to keep missing the symptoms. I don't want women to just act as if it's nothing, like they're not going to get it. Well, guess what? I didn't think I was going to get it. Like I said in my poem, I was just going on with my life, and it hit. Nobody had ever told me their story. Nobody had gave me a symptom card. I didn't know what ovarian cancer was, let alone what the symptoms were, because nobody shared their story. Nobody gave me any idea of what it was. And even though I have an aunt that was married to my uncle who had ovarian cancer, it's not like we were really close in that way that I knew more about it. And I don't even know if I remembered it was ovarian. I may have thought it was cervical, because I have a cousin who got cervical. All that to say is I just didn't know. And if I can be a part of this amazing group of people that are out there in all over the states, in many countries, if I can be one of those people who are advocating and never stopping and never wavering with their advocacy so lives can be saved, I count that as good. And it makes all of the horribleness worth it in a way, of all the horribleness that I've gone through and all the not so great stuff that I continue to go through post chemotherapy. It makes it worth it because we could be a part of saving lives, y'all. So thank you for coming back for season 2. And I hope it inspires you to come back for more as I bring in guests to share their stories. Some of them are survivors. Some of them are the loved ones of those who have died from this insidious disease. They all have a story that I believe is worth sharing, and I hope you come back and you give it a listen. Please share with others this podcast, Teal Time with Hope. Sharing is caring. It does really help if you subscribe, if you hit the like, all of that good jazz, if you leave a comment, if you hit that 5 stars, all of that will help this podcast. And this may not be a Joe Rogan, for those who love Joe Rogan podcast, where millions and millions of people are listening in, but why not? Why can't it be? Why can't we get these little podcasts that are about important, serious issues in the world of diseases such as ovarian cancer? Why can't we get them to be just as popular as those Joe Rogan podcasts. I mean, one can hope and one can dream. But even if we never make it to that, viewership, if you will, it still matters who's listening, because that's all that's important, to tell your friends and your family members, your colleagues, about a woman named Hope who has survived ovarian cancer and who's doing her best to share and spread the awareness by bringing on beautiful women and men, by the way, who have something to share about their story that associates them with ovarian cancer as well. Thank you so much again for giving me a listen. This has been Teal Time with Hope. I am Hope, and I hope y'all are doing well as we go into Thanksgiving for those who are in America and celebrate that holiday. Please take care of yourselves. Please be well, stay well, practice kindness. Until next time, God bless you. Bye for now.